All right. So we are here with Natalie Harris from Renegade Bridal, and we are going to talk a little bit about fashion and what she's been up to for this 2018 year. So tell us what made you go from admire to designer.
Truth be told, I've always been on the designer trajectory. I, my mom had me sewing when I was in like third grade. I did 4-H because I grew up on a farm in Indiana.
Oh, that's cool.
So that was like 10 years of sewing. And when everybody's yelling at you when you're like a junior in high school to figure out what you're going to do with your life, it's like, well, I really love fine art. And I really need to make myself a prom dress because I know exactly what I want, but I can't find it anywhere.
Yeah.
And that kind of turned into a light bulb moment. And my mom was really cool. She took me to the runway show at Purdue. And when I saw what the seniors there were
Oh,
doing, I
wow.
was like, done, sold.
That's a good
Sign me
school.
up. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good school.
it's a great school. So I studied design. I'm formally trained and educated, which I feel like is like a rarity anymore
Yeah,
among designers.
it is. It is a rarity.
But yeah, when I graduated, I came down and worked for a bridal designer and manufacturer for about a year doing market sales and all that kind of thing. And we barely worked with brides directly there, but I started to get a taste for it.
Wow.
I left and I worked bridal retail for about 6 years as I was starting my own line. And yeah, I kind of fell into bridal. I didn't know that that was where I was going to end up, but I'm obsessed.
Yeah, that's going to be my next question. I mean, so of all the things, I mean, why brides? I mean, it's a big deal. It's a
It
big
started
day.
off really pragmatic. So like back in college, it was okay. I'm going to do my like senior presentation. What kind of thing am I going to put together? And I actually overachieved mostly out of fear of not knowing what in the world I was going to do.
Yeah.
And so I did like one sportswear collection, and I did bridal, knowing, okay, well, I'm not going to be staying in a cornfield in rural Indiana, so wherever I land, people are probably going to be getting married and probably going to be wearing sportswear.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And yeah, I anymore like I don't get excited about sportswear the same way that I do about evening wear. So I landed in the right spot.
Well, you get to be more, and you also, I mean, you said you like the arts, so you get to be more theatrical and creative when it comes to bridal and
Absolutely.
formal wear, much more than just
I don't think that I would
regular
edit
wear.
well.
Yeah.
So yeah, especially in like a corporate setting. There was a day where I actually interviewed to be a technical designer at JCPenney.
Oh wow.
So like for a hot minute, I thought that I was going to be doing like editing pocket placement on Worthington dress slacks in Plano. And I look back now
Wow.
and it is comical
That
because
is
like
cool,
that's
yeah.
so the opposite of like what I'm about. And for better or worse, like I think that you'll really have to be an entrepreneur
Yeah.
to like have the level of like creativity. And really it's just the market then like making me decide how to edit more than a brand, set of configurations.
Yeah, and that's cool because I mean, a lot of the things that I appreciate about your design is that they're very fluid and they're very like right now, but they also translate well. So they don't really kind of look like, oh, this is like part of the trends of last year because you're doing things that are very like individualistic and very unique, and you definitely have your own perspective. So how do you define a successful season as far as for the dresses and for the collections that you present?
Man, that's a good question. Um, so, for a long while, for the past few years anyway, I'll say that I really have kind of embraced my collection as just a walking portfolio. So I haven't worried a ton about cohesion
Right.
so I'm experimenting with like 20 different things every time I launch a new season. And generally I use engagement season as my like, it's toward the beginning of the year
Yeah.
anyway. So that's kind of how I frame things. Truthfully, bridal is so seasonal
Yeah.
that my year is really made in January through February.
Right.
So last year, we had just done a rebrand and we had our best engagement season ever.
Yeah.
This year, we've really fine-tuned a lot of things and we doubled what we did last year. So the numbers make me feel like things are good, but it's also that I'm finally attracting people that seem to be interested in artistry and that aren't using me as a tailor and bringing me like blurry Pinterest photos and saying, this is what I want. I love a Pinterest board, but I love when they have 30 things
Yeah.
and we figure out what are the commonalities, what do you love, and then, this is year 11 for me. And it probably took like 8 or 9 before I had the confidence to actually make suggestions like actively in consultations. So that is something that's really hard, I think, when you're starting off. But yeah, now there's a little bit of me infused into every design, which is a lot more fulfilling than when you're treating yourself like a tailor too.
That's true, because you can actually personalize things
Absolutely.
and make a dress that's really bespoke for that person.
Yeah, that's like my nerdy thing. I try to always find some. I really love iconography. If they have anything that I can be like, what's like a symbol that we can incorporate into your embroidery or your beading or print even. And even when they're super traditional, sometimes we'll do that as like a print lining on the inside. So it's still super sentimental and fun, but it doesn't have to necessarily be an in-your-face like
It's all about the
armadillo.
little things. Yeah, yeah, no, but it's all about the little things.
Right.
Because sometimes, I mean, I've always felt like, especially formal wear, and especially bridal, it's more for yourself, really. I mean, people see you in it, but I mean, if you feel like $1 million, then that's the perfect dress.
So I preach to brides all the time. I feel like it breaks my heart a little bit when they talk about like the things that their partner would like to see them in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's cute, but like I want that to be like 10% of what you're thinking
Right.
about, because in theory, your partner is going to love you if you walk down the aisle in the most essence of you garments that
Right.
like you could have.
Right.
So I think that's what it's about, is it's really a celebration of like the essence of the two of you
Right.
and what that coming together feels like. So that's the mark we try to aim for.
Yeah, you definitely do it.
Thanks.
So from all of the really incredible things that you've been doing and have been up to the last 11 years, what do you think is like your greatest moment? What would you call your greatest moment?
Oh, holy cow. I think for me, like that crack moment that lasts like a flash, but you hang on to for like a year is a really, really good delivery appointment. If the bride cries, like I'm done. Like, like, okay, that's like my like sinister goal in the like the background all the time, I guess. But yeah, when you really, really hit the mark, when somebody says like, this is me, or when they bring in like best friend or mom for the first time and they're like, whoa, that is like the most Jennifer dress I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like that's always the goal. That feels really good.
I think that's like the seal of approval. That's
Right.
like the ultimate, for bridal, that's the ultimate seal of
Right.
approval.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I know we were talking about like the different things that you were planning and kind of rebranding and all these things. So part of that rebranding, and I mean, what are your goals? What are you thinking for 2018, 2019?
So, 2017 was really good to us, which made me really ambitious for 2018. So, we're still going to be doing, focusing on Houston brides and working directly doing custom design. But we've now launched a new collection, the Paper Dolls Separates. So for that, my primary intention is actually launching wholesale. So for spring, we're just kind of opening up with a couple really, really well-matched retailers. I'm thinking regionally, but it might end up being like Portland, Seattle, Austin, instead of like Dallas or Louisiana. So we're kind of just dipping our toe back into the wholesale water, but depending on how that goes, we may also be doing the separates as like a mail order situation. Cool. So if we could do like custom by mail where you could actually try on the two pieces, but then we have like a long list of all the cool things that we could do to those pieces. The objection that I've still had for years and years, even being like, okay, I can literally do anything. I've got a beading factory, I've got embroidery. It's still I don't know if I could do custom. I really need to see something on.
Right.
So the separates collection was really to further try to serve the Houston brides,
Right.
but then with all these kind of cool secondary goals as well. And then in the background, we also just, we're getting ready on the 1st of April to launch Keep Weddings Weird, which is my new wedding media platform.
I like that. Keeps weddings weird.
Yeah, so we really saw a need for a dramatically inclusive wedding blog.
Right.
So that's everything from like LGBTQ couples and minorities that just aren't represented, like disabled brides, like
Right.
that's not a thing that you see.
Right.
Mature brides, I call them like encore brides, like
No,
maybe
that's-
they're back
yeah.
for round 2 and they're
Right.
50, like
Right.
they don't need a princess ball gown.
Right.
And so they're not the like stereotypical wedding blog, like they're not really interested in that. It's about the hyper personalization.
Right.
So we're trying to lean into that, and I've got a bunch of kind of wedding pro tribe people that are helping me work on that. So that, among all the cool things Renegade's got going on, are keeping us busy.
So you talked a little bit about growing up and having kind of like a family support system that let you go into design.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what advice would you have for like a new creative?
Well, I think number one is people don't always emphasize business
Yeah.
education.
Yeah.
I was super fortunate in that Purdue's program was like, I had to take advertising, marketing, retailing,
Right.
accounting.
Right.
So I didn't even do like an entrepreneurial focus, and I did not know in school that that was how I was going to end up. So I had no idea that really what I wanted to do almost necessitated entrepreneurship.
Right.
So that's one thing. When I do get like college interns, I try to talk to them about like what their big goals are.
Right.
And so often it's a similar situation. If you really, if you are interested in creative design,
Yeah.
there's a good likelihood you're going to be better suited for entrepreneurship than you are for the highly competitive environments in New York or LA, unless
Yeah.
you're doing, I mean, there's Target and Walmart, and other than that, like,
Yeah.
they're pretty much like in one of those two cities, and I actually knew, like, from my cornfield, I was like, I'm not going to be comfortable, like, that's not the lifestyle that I was
Right.
looking for. I didn't know at the time that I was going to meet a nice guy from Tomball and end up in Houston, but Houston actually, like,
Yeah.
fit me really well
Yeah.
because of the opportunity of the market, the lack of exciting options here, I would come to realize, but also, you know, like, I've got 2 kids and I've got a backyard that's great for a dog.
Right.
Like, and I'm an
Right.
entrepreneur.
Right.
And I've got space in like central Houston.
Yes.
Like, these are
Houston.
not things that I feel like would be available to me in
Anywhere else.
most other places.
Definitely not, especially
Yeah.
not bigger LA, New York
No.
kind of major
No.
metropolitans like that. No, definitely Houston gives a home to anybody who really has a dream. And that's a special thing that you can only really get here. Plus, you know, there's Southern hospitality, which,
Agreed.
you know, goes a long ways that you don't get in other places. Ha ha ha. So, you know, when you're working with different people and, you know, doing your editorials and stuff, I mean, what do you look for in a collaboration, especially you that have, you know, you have such a specific eye and attention to detail for how you put your brand out, how you have put your brand out?
I do. I enjoy collaborating so much that it took me a long time to really refine and start saying no to as many things as I probably should
Yeah.
be. Because I love, like, in weddings, styled shoots
Mhm.
are this huge trending thing to get yourself marketing material
Right.
that is very targeted. But I mean, I do a couple of those a month as is still.
Yeah.
And part of that's SEO strategy. But I am really inspired by optimistic creatives. So that's just an energy that I enjoy being around. So generally, if somebody comes and they're a big dreamer too, and they know how to, like, getting published is like my pragmatic goal.
Of course.
But if there's somebody that is amenable to understanding what my brand is about,
Right.
and what I'm trying to convey, I don't usually do like I use the term jokingly, like blondes and blush.
Blondes, yeah. Yeah.
That's not like the extent of what I do.
Right.
I don't hate blondes and I don't hate blush. Like that's cool, but
There are other people for that.
there are other people doing
Yeah.
exclusively that.
Yeah.
So for me, it's okay. Are we going to be showing color or print or polka dots or like, something a little fun and crazy and quirky?
Right.
So I always try to infuse that where we can.
Yeah. No, that makes sense, and I guess that's why everything that you've put out just has such a personal touch, and it's very, it's almost magical. It's almost like something kind of out of a dream sequence.
Thanks.
A lot of the time. So that's really cool because I mean, you're getting somebody who wants to raise the bar and push it forward, and so that plus the designs, that makes total
Yeah.
sense.
That said, in the past year or two, it's been really hard work to pay close attention to what is working and what's not, and really refine my personal style.
Hmm.
So we've come around to like softer prints and tiny florals and things like that versus always bold
Yeah.
in your face color.
Yeah.
There's a bride for that, and so I will never not do that.
Right.
But it's been really important to learn the balance as well.
Right. All right. So, who of all the people in the world of fashion, who is your icon?
Ooh, my icon. Okay, so when it comes to like designers,
Yes.
I've been obsessed with Gucci for the past few seasons. That's Alessandro Michele, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like he has like a devil may care attitude, and especially like this most recent show, which was like, it was a little bold even for me, but
Right.
I can still appreciate that. But no, like the clothes themselves, like I would like absolutely wear those clothes. And then within like bridal and evening wear specifically, I really love Alice Temperley.
Oh, I've heard that one.
So she does like stuff that's way more boho than I would generally be drawn to.
Right.
But the way that we share an obsession with like squeezing tiny quirky details into things.
Yeah.
So she'll have like bright florals embroidered with like, there is an armadillo in there. Okay, cool. So
That sounds
yeah,
cool.
yeah. She's one of my more recent things. And Mary Catherine Zhu.
Oh.
I don't know if you know that name. She's like the couture print, like queen. So
I'm gonna have to look her up.
I will teach you all the
Yeah,
ways.
teach me the ways.
Yeah, but the way that she blends, it'll be like, oh, I actually have one that like I kind of had like her style in mind when I was working on it. Mine has like statues at the hem, and then it bleeds into like peonies, but it's all like white on white on white.
Wow.
And so she just does cool like things that shouldn't go together but do, and love her stuff as well. My like style icon is Gwen Stefani.
Yeah, Gwen Stefani is a cool
She's
one.
like my go-to, like sophisticated, quirky,
Rock and roll,
roll
Yeah.
babe. Yes.
but always keeps it. It's like a rock and roll lady.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's never like crazy over the top, and if it is, it's really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun and serious at the same time, without just being like basically
Yeah.
black.
I feel like I grew up the way that Gwen Stefani's style did.
Yeah, that's a good way of saying
Like
that.
I'm 34 now. Like when I look back at like the stuff that I was doing like a decade ago, when
Yeah.
I was like way more in your face, and now like
Yeah.
I understand like how you can apply a little bit of sophistication and still get away with the crazy, but
Subtle nuances
balance.
here and there.
Yeah,
Balance.
subtlety. Yeah.
So, what would be some of your like favorite quotes, or a quote that you would really kind of define yourself by, or would say that is kind of like definitive of who you are as a designer, and how you kind of put your brand out there?
Okay, I'm gonna butcher it, but there's one that like I've even been considering like putting up on the wall in here. It's a David Bowie, and it says, I don't know where I'm going, but I know it won't be boring.
Yeah, that's a cool one.
I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, that feels right.
Those are good words to live by. So these are a couple of fun questions that we just like to ask everybody, just to be, I don't know, just to be more personal.
Okay,
So
cool.
it's not all business. But so what do you wear to the grocery store?
Oh yeah, so no, see that's the thing, I live two lives. I like pretend to come in and be like, oh, I'm a couture bridal designer, but then on Tuesdays at the HEB, I've got like two kids going crazy and I'm just in like whatever the last holiday's leggings were and like a t-shirt. It's really bad. Like, why am I wearing Valentine's Day leggings? I mean, but yeah, no, tragically, that's like my situation. I dress others much better than I dress myself.
I think that's the truth with all of us in the industry. All of us in the industry.
True confession.
So I'll leave you with this last question. It's such a monumental question. Deep dish or thin crust?
Neither.
Neither.
No. So, there is a thing called Cincinnati style pizza.
I've never heard of that.
You haven't because you can't get it down here. So when I go home to my cornfield in Indiana, there is this chain that I grew up with called Arnie's, and they cube the pepperoni, and it's super
What?
thin crust, but like almost like cracker thin. So good. I love any kind of pizza. There's no wrong answer to this, but yes, that is the kind of pizza that maybe only because I can't get it down here, I've like romanticized.
I'm gonna have to make
it.
somebody. I'm gonna have to find a recipe and get somebody to make that. Yeah, that sounds really cool.
Yes.
Well, thank you for sitting down with us. It's been great to talk to you. If you want to find Natalie Harris, you can follow her on all social media. It'll be tagged in the bottom of the video. So thanks again for sitting with me and
Thank you.
hanging out, and we appreciate it.